My name's Ryan Hillier, and I'm the director and lead actor in the film Nothing But Green. The film was co-written by myself and Tom, where Tom came up with the concepts around the characters I'd written for him, and basically I just worked alongside Tom in order to polish the script.
My name's Jake Bevan, and I was the producer for our film and also the sound designer as well.
The crew themselves were built up of other college students, students in my media domain.
So, as I said, I was really happy with my crew. Really happy that we had a confident director. I was the producer. We had a good script, and we had everyone was passionate about what they wanted to do.
Well, the characters themselves are based around the Rat Pack, the musical group that's synonymous with any industry now. They're based around Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Buddy. With regards to the people themselves in the auditions, I chose them based on not just their looks, but the way that they presented themselves. So, for example, I picked Ben as the second lead, Dean, because of his chemistry with myself. I get along very well with him, and me being the other lead, it was easy, to orchestrate the whole scene with someone that I got along with so easily.
His eyes may be blue, but he only sees green.
My name's Ben Oakes, and I play Dean in the film. Good friends with the director, so I came along for a sort of a trial interview, and read a couple of the lines, and he liked how I did it.
With regards to the other two actors, I picked them mostly on their aesthetic merit. They looked the part. They looked great for the part, and they both showed this sort of charisma in their performances that which was actually absent in their auditions. But when it came to being on screen, I believe that they were the right choice for the role. Dylan really gave me a different perspective on directing, not just on how I should look at things aesthetically, but how I should look at things from the actor's point of view. It really gave me an insight into how an actor's mind works and how a director needs to be able to look at a set and not just see where everything is, but he needs to understand why things are happening the way that they're happening and justify everything, which is really something that I find helpful in directing now, knowing that. Directing and acting at the same time actually gave me more of an understanding of the actor's point of view. It, if anything, made my job slightly easier than if I was just to sit back in the director's chair, because I'd be able to see from the actor's point of view what was achievable and what was not achievable, as well as look at it, aesthetically from the director's point of view. So it was a big eye-opener as to how the whole direction and acting function works within the media industry. Well, the pre-production was a very lengthy process. Not only were we very ambitiously building our own sets, but we were also coming up with we were working with a very ambitious concept to begin with, so it wasn't easy to orchestrate everything. Where it came to locations, we tried many locations, calling out banks and things to see if we can actually use a foyer. But in the end, we had to build this, so it was a very complicated but enjoyable process.
Okay, my name is Jack Carl. I'm the art director for Nothing But Green. My job as an art director is effectively to create everything you see on camera except the actors. The main two handled props were prop firearms and prop money.
We had to construct segments of a building that from just pure concept art, and it was difficult, considering as well the manual construction that went into it too. We used big tables in order to keep the walls up, things such as that. So we had to move these across buildings in the college in order to build our set. But on the whole, aesthetically, especially when it came to the foyer, I was really pleased with the work done by the construction team.
Technically, what we were doing was completely legal, but to the untrained eye or somebody who just had walked in, it would have seemed quite dodgy for us to be in a room with lots and lots of fake money, or lots and lots of bundles of money, and a lot of guns.
We had one of those films where we wanted to shoot in a lot of places, which as a film director and producer, it's quite difficult to do because you've got to produce schedules and that, and you've got to make sure everyone knows where they're going, and you've got to make sure the set's ready for when the actors get there to act. So working alongside Jack as the art director and with Ryan, who's the director, We all three of us had to combine and figure out when we wanted to get these sets done and how we wanted them done. Jack did a really good job, really impressed with his work. Very happy we got the van. The van was the first shoot that we did. Very happy we got that because it meant that we didn't have to green screen a van in or something silly like that, or even use an interior of a car which doesn't look like a van, because we really wanted it to be a van, because we really wanted it to look like an actual bank heist. In terms of the actual bank vault, it's amazing. Jack really did a really good job. It's amazing what you can do with a few sheets of plasterboard and some paint. Even got my own hands dirty on that as well, trying to speed up the process a bit. But I think we all pitched in on that as well, but especially Jack as well. He did a really good job on that.
There were plenty of issues with regards to, like I said, costumes, props and set design that were really, a big issue, as well as actors as well, because we outsourced an actor who had to, take time out of his own school schedule in order to be in the film. But, a lot of problems such as that really did make films more complicated, as well as the college setting as well. If it was, filmed outside of college, we'd have had a lot more free reign over what we were doing. But we were limited quite heavily by the the lecturers and the college criteria.
Everything's been around smoothly. We all have our roles, we all have our jobs to do, and if it all works out, the film gets made a lot easier. It goes how we want, and at the end of the day, the end product's going to look amazing. The way it went was a bit different.
We had a bit of a setback. We've got a problem with film timing, so we're going to have to change the script on at the last minute. So the original ending's been scrapped and we've had to rewrite a new one in order to allow the group tomorrow to start filming, because they haven't started yet.
Is that really necessary? I mean, I'm not exactly going anywhere.
I know, love. Precautions and all that.
So filming for our film was a new experience, I think, because we were all getting into the zone of our roles and that. So we had Becky, who was on the camera, and Ryan was stood right next to her whenever he wasn't in the scene, telling her what to do, what he doesn't like, what he does like.
Film that we used at the screening was something that, when watching back, it was admittedly quite difficult to watch. It was one of those things that, though you shouldn't think like that, I was thinking, what could have happened if we'd had more time? What could have happened if, we'd raised more money for the film, or, if we didn't have to deal with certain complications, what could that film have been? But like I said, this film, it was a fantastic learning curve. I was really pleased with it, and I was pleased with the work that was done by the editor Lewis, considering that he wasn't an experienced editor, especially in the visual side of things. He really did do a good job with what, the skills he'd been given.
I want you to tell me everything you know about the Eastwood Group bank heist.
The film itself, I felt was a lot shorter than I expected it to be. There was only really 3 key scenes, and that was the detective room, the back of a van, and then the safe. And then it was back to the room again. So it was quite quick, and it was over. And I felt like there was probably more story to tell, but it had been cut down due to time constraints and being students and being your first proper attempt at building sets and working on a project like that. But the actual film itself, it was okay. It was okay. I was good.
It would have been better if we could have had more cameras on set to have that different angle, that different close-up, or that different establishing shot, rather than doing 20 takes for one scene where we have to keep moving the camera to get a different shot. If we had even just an extra camera set up and shooting at the exact same time, then it would have made production go a lot more smoothly and a lot quickly as well. So, but in terms of how we went about it, it was good for the sort of type of film I was going for.
Well, considering we weren't a big budget production, the music choice was based around what was available at the time, and we just basically sifted through a few options to see what exactly we prefer, what we thought fit the flow of the film. Originally, we were going to go for more of a retro sort of much like the Rat Pack music, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin soundtracks. But considering, like I said, we're not a big budget film, we were unable to obtain these, so we went with what we saw was best at the time.
So for post-production, it was my job anyway to be the sound designer. So that meant it was my job to literally get any external sounds that we want for our film and give them to the editor to chuck into the final edit. So the main job that I had in terms of the sound was to find the right soundtrack. It was difficult because obviously this was a film that was released into the public domain, so it's difficult getting the copyright for songs that you would hear in big feature films, basically by professional artists. So getting the copyright was very difficult, and we actually didn't end up getting the copyright for any big songs. So we ended up going for a song that was just from SoundCloud actually, but it was royalty free.
I am pleased with how the film turned out. One of my proudest achievements of college work at the moment.
Yeah, I think it was, apart from its production issues, it was sort of saved by editing and clever editing and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that saved it.
My advice for people that maybe do this next year or plan to do a short film is probably make sure you put a lot of effort into pre-production, so there's not as much hassle when it comes to actually producing the film.
Definitely 100% planning and organisation, because although we did have a schedule for pre and post-production and the production stage, things changed. So we originally wanted to film on the streets, but we didn't get permission for it quick enough. So that meant we had to change our whole schedule and reschedule everything, which messed up Jack, who was doing set design, we delayed the whole post-production side. So definitely organisation and planning.
I don't know, it's a difficult one to criticise because the point of the exercise was to make mistakes and for things to go wrong and to experience new experiences, and in that sense it was a huge success.
I want to say to the entire crew, thank you for, sticking with this film from start to finish, because the production process itself was a complete pain to do, but they stuck with it, and the finished product, though it wasn't something that we aim for necessarily for it to be the way it is, it is something that we should be proud of, because it's a learning curve for all of us.